The air smelled of fresh-cut grass and rebellion that humid July evening when I stood on my half-acre lot, staring at the skeletal frame of my dream greenhouse. My sanctuary. My middle finger to a world that told me to stay small. I'd spent months planning it, sketching every beam, every pane of glass, imagining the tomatoes that had burst red under my care, the basil that had sent my hands. My boots sank into the soft earth, the kind that promises life if you just give it a chance. Then I heard it, the sharp clip-clop of heels on asphalt, a sound like a guillotine falling. Karen, president of the Willow Creek HOA, self-appointed queen of this suburban fiefdom, was marching toward me, her clipboard clutched like a holy relic. You're building what? Her voice was a nasal whip, cracking through the dusk. Her eyes, narrowed behind oversized sunglasses, scanned my lot like she owned it. This monstrosity violates Code 17B, Section 4. 2. I've already filed a cease and desist with the county. She thrust a neon pink notice at me, her manicured nails glinting like tiny daggers. I took the paper, my fingers trembling not from fear, but from the rage coiling in my gut. This wasn't her land. My property sat just outside Willow Creek's jurisdiction, a fact she'd conveniently ignored. I'd checked, double-checked. My lot was mine, free and clear, no HOA leash around its neck. But Karen didn't care about facts. She cared about control. I crumpled the notice, the paper hissing in my fist. Karen, I said, my voice low, steady, like the calm before a storm. This isn't your turf. My land. My rules. Her lips parted, a gasp escaping like air from a punctured tire. She wasn't used to defiance. Not here, where her word was law, where neighbors bowed to her emails about approved mailbox colors and proper lawn mowing schedules. I turned back to my greenhouse, the wood still smelling of pine and possibility. But her voice chased me. You'll regret this. Mia, you think you can just ignore the community. Community. The word tasted like ash. I'd moved here to escape the city's noise, to build something real, something mine. I wasn't part of her precious HOA. But Karen had been hounding me since I bought the lot, first with friendly suggestions about my fence height, then complaints about my truck's oil stains. Now this. I ignored her, grabbing a hammer, the weight grounding me as I drove a nail into a crossbeam. The metallic clang echoed, a small act of war. Karen huffed, her heels retreating, but I knew this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The next morning, I woke to a chainsaw scream. My heart lurched as I stumbled outside, coffee sloshing over my mug's rim. A county truck idled at the edge of my lot, and two workers in orange vests were eyeing my greenhouse frame like it was a condemned building. Karen stood nearby, arms crossed, her smirk sharp enough to cut glass. I told you, Mia, she called, her voice dripping with triumph. The county agrees with me. That eyesore's coming down. I sprinted across the dew-soaked grass, my breath ragged. Stop, I shouted, waving my arms. The workers paused, confused, as I shoved my property deed in their faces. This lot isn't under Willow Creek's HOA. Check the records. One of them, a guy with a graying beard and tired eyes, scratched his head, glancing at Karen. She faltered, her confidence flickering like a bad bulb. That's impossible, she stammered. I spoke to the county myself. But I wasn't listening. I was dialing my lawyer, Sarah, a pit bull in a pantsuit who'd helped me close on the lot. Her voice crackled through the phone. Calm but lethal. Send me the notice. I'll handle it. By noon, Sarah had the county on the phone, confirming my lot's exemption. The workers packed up, mumbling apologies, and Karen's face turned the color of sour milk. I should have felt victorious, but all I felt was a hollow ache. This wasn't about a greenhouse anymore. It was about her need to crush me, to make me bend. Days bled into weeks, and Karen's attacks escalated. Anonymous complaints about noise violations led to cops knocking at my door, their flashlights slicing through the twilight. My mailbox was stuffed with flyers about community standards, each one a passive-aggressive jab. One night, I found my greenhouse frame tagged with red spray paint, freak. The word burned into my skull. the paint's chemical stink clinging to the air. I scrubbed it off until my hands bled, the bristles of the brush scraping like a taunt. I wasn't sleeping. Every creak of my house made me jump, expecting Karen's next move. Then came the curveball. I was hauling lumber from my truck when a rusty sedan pulled up. Out stepped a woman, maybe 60, her hair a wild halo of gray curls, her eyes sharp as a hawk's. "You Mia?" she asked, her voice gravelly, like she'd smoked a pack a day since Nixon was president. I nodded. "Wary. Name's Dot. Used to live in Willow Creek." Karen ran me out. She lit a cigarette, the flame briefly illuminating a scar above her eyebrow. "Heard you're giving her hell. Thought you could use this." She handed me a manila envelope, thick with papers. Old HOA records. Proof she's been skimming dues for years. Use it wisely. I stood there, the envelope heavy in my hands. As Dot drove off, her taillights fading into the dusk, my pulse raced. This was dynamite evidence of Karen's corruption, enough to bury her. But it wasn't just about me anymore. Dot's story lingered, her scar a silent scream of what Karen's power had cost others. I spent that night poring over the documents, the pages smelling faintly of mildew and betrayal. Bank statements, forged signatures, funds funneled to a shell company called Willow Futures. Karen wasn't just a bully. She was a thief. The next morning, I posted the documents online, tagging every Willow Creek resident I could find. The X platform lit up, notifications buzzing like angry bees. Neighbors I'd never met started sharing their own stories, fines for unapproved flower beds, threats over kids' chalk drawings. Karen's empire was crumbling, but I knew she'd come for me one last time. And she did. It was a Sunday, the air thick with the promise of rain, when Karen stormed my lot again. This time, she wasn't alone. A handful of her loyalist bleach blonde moms with matching yoga pants flanked her, their glares as sharp as her own. "You think you can ruin me?" Karen spat, her voice trembling with fury. "I built this community. You're nothing but a nobody." Her words cracked, and for a moment, I saw it: fear. She was losing everything: her status, her control, her throne. I stepped closer, my boots crunching on gravel, my heart pounding like a war drum. "You don't get it, Karen," I said, my voice steady despite the storm in my chest. "This was never about your HOA. It's about you thinking you can own people. You can't own me." I held up my phone, showing the X posts spreading like wildfire, the hashtags Cancel Karen and Willow Creek Fraud trending. Her loyalists shifted, their eyes darting, doubt creeping in. One of them, a woman with tired lines around her eyes, turned and walked away. Then another. Karen's scream tore through the air, raw and desperate, as thunder rumbled in the distance. The rain came that night, heavy and relentless, washing away the last traces of paint from my greenhouse frame. I stood under my porch, the drops drumming on the roof, my breath finally steady. The county launched an investigation into Karen's finances, and whispers of lawsuits floated through the neighborhood. She was done canceled not just by me, but by the community she'd terrorized for years. I finished the greenhouse a month later, its glass gleaming under the October sun, tomatoes already sprouting inside. Every time I stepped into it, the air warm with earth and life. I thought of Dot's envelope, of Karen's fall, of the power of standing your ground. Justice doesn't always come with a gavel. Sometimes it's quietera seed taking root, a bully's voice silenced, a community waking up. I'd fought for my lot, my dream, my right to exist outside someone else's rules. And in the end, that was enough.